The collection has kind of emerged over time, and the first Santa that I remember getting was one that was a gift from my husband of my youth, the father of my children. This is the Santa that started this collection that probably numbers now about 4,000 to 5,000. The collections have been shown in a variety of places. One of the most fun and extensive showings was at the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame in Lansing, Michigan, 2 years in a row. Another one was at the Pittock Mansion, where the theme was the night before Christmas. And I've also showed them in the Corbett House at Lewis and Clark College. I have a whole collection of animals with Santa hats. And I really love my African ones, like the elephant and the tiger and the giraffes and the zebras. And then I have hand-carved ones, and I've been collecting those. So I have a collection within the collection. One of the most fun areas are my Santas at the beach. And I have collected those because as a young girl I lived close to the beach and I love the ocean. Another area that I have enjoyed is transportation, because Santa doesn't just go on reindeer and have a sleigh. He can go by airplane or he can go by boat. This tree is one that I decorated this year with the antiques that were my mother's and my grandmother's, and I have not unpacked those boxes for probably 40 years. One of the things that my mother really liked were these icicles that are glass and the candy canes. And these have been in my family, and I remember since I was a little girl. These figures of lights were the lights we actually had on our tree when I was a child, and there were all kinds of animals and people and Santa Clauses, and I kept some of them and particularly liked the Santa faces. The other thing I discovered, which was fun, is no longer are balls made with impressions in them, like this one with the star, or this one that has a center to it that is kind of three-dimensional. This banner above the fireplace is one that I created and made. I used the design in a Christmas card and then decided that it would be fun to quilt it. So each one of these is a separate panel, so I can either put it all together or I can put them individually. And on the back of each one is Santa fabric, and it's something that I have enjoyed making. And each one of these, like this one in particular, I call my Hawaiian Santa because it's ferns in the background and then Hawaiian fabric in the middle. This year I decided that I wanted to do something that is reflective of where I am in my life right now, and I found a big box of diamond decoration, so I decided to do a crystal tree. This is actually a crystal of a Santa that I bought when I was in Denmark. This is a crystal of a Santa driving a Rolls Royce, and I thought that was always quite fun. And then I have on it some of my own crystal beads. Part of the fun of having this collection is the mystery of where I'm going to find one. One of the things I like best about my collection are the Santas in the paintings created by a friend of mine named Emma. And this is what I call my Emma altar. And all of these Santas were created by her, as well as the Santas on this tree. And the reason I like them is there are a lot of reasons I like them. One, each one is individual. Each one is whimsical. And it also is a symbol of Santa that is a happy, unusual one, not a stern Santa that I grew up with. Another part of my collection, within my collection, are my folk Santas, and these are just some of the Santas that I have collected that are either handmade or show that Santa does not always have to look like a fat-bellied man with a red and white suit. One of the fascinating things about Santa and the symbol of Santa is how he is shown and depicted in the stories in different cultures. This corner of my living room is a sample of many of the Santas I've collected worldwide. These up here on the top are hand-carved that I purchased when I was in Bali. This shelf is primarily from Europe, and the one in the back is Santa that was a gift to me from some friends in Russia. This one over here is a whole group of Santa, and the reindeer is from Germany. This one is I bought in an antique store when I was traveling in France. Down on the next shelf is what I call the fuzzy shelf, and many of these were my mother's, and particularly the ones she liked were the ones that were from Sweden and Scandinavia. These are Santa storytellers. And then perhaps the two that I think are most interesting in my collection are this black Santa that is from Turkey and was carved in the city of Demre, which is the birthplace of Santa, which I was able to go visit. And the one next to him is one I found in a market in Egypt. One of the most unusual finds of my Santa was when I was in Cairo, Egypt, sitting in the back seat of a taxi cab, waiting at a stoplight, turned to my right and saw in the window of a shop a statue of a Santa. I immediately asked the taxi cab driver to stop. We got out and I ran into the shop and bought the Santa. This Santa, the one that I found in Egypt, looks just like my Egyptian guide. This shelf is one of my favorite shelves that shows Santas from a variety of places. The ones that I like a lot are the Santas that show Day of the Dead from Mexico. And this particular one I purchased in, as it says, 1998, and it was cut from a Coca-Cola can. This shelf of Santas primarily includes Delft china from Holland, and then a few of my Santas from that show China. On this wall are also many of the Santas that I have collected on many of my travels. This particular branch is primarily South America, which is Peru, Ecuador. This particular tree is a conglomeration of Santas that I've collected. I was with my friend Deb in the Cayman Islands, and these are some ornaments that I bought then. This was when I was in Alaska, and this was when I was in Sweden. These again are hand-carved ones from Bali. Perhaps most interesting is this bag of dirt and sand from the temple of Saint Nikolai in the country of Turkey. I really do believe that Santa can become a symbol of peace on earth. That's why I like Santa and his world view. This year I have put up an upside down Christmas tree, and it was important to me because I've always wanted to do one and I never thought it was the proper thing to do. So I kind of threw proper to the wind and decided to put some of my favorite foreign ornaments on it, as well as it reminded me of the tinsel tree that my grandmother had in her house when I was about 10. I have so much fun finding the Santas in different cultures and in different places because it reminds me of that trip and the people that I was traveling with. When I open a box, it's always a surprise to discover a Santa that I perhaps haven't seen for a year or two. The girl with the mask reminds me of myself in the sense that oftentimes I wear a mask of happiness, and this particular Santa reminds me that you can take your mask off and be real. This Santa is one that I sculpted last year, 2013, and it is an accomplishment to have done this, and people have said that Santa's eyes are my eyes. There are many legends about the myth of Santa and what he symbolizes. One of the interpretations of the beginning of the myth of Santa Claus has to do with the goddess Artemis, who was the giver of life. As I have grown older, my perception of Santa has changed a lot in the sense of, as a young girl waiting for presents to be given, to changing that perception to it's just as important to give as it is to receive. I'm not sure what I will do with this collection in the future. I still like the fun of finding Santas. I may donate them to a museum, I may sell them, and I certainly will give special ones to my family. Hello, this is SuSanta.